Oh, hello, and welcome to Al Dente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
I'm Dr. Leviathan.
And I'm Mikey. The E stands for evil.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories most creepy and most pasta. Tonight we have Liars. So, for those of you just tuning in, creepypastas are short internet stories that get copy and pasted across the internet. You can go check them out on wikis and forums, or just Google it. You'll probably find a lot of them nowadays. So, yeah, we're doing Liars, which is by Ivysir on creepypasta.com. There's readings of it by Mr. Creepypasta and Psychopasta, etc. There's a whole row of readers for it on YouTube. So go check it out, and we'll just dive into this one. So the narrator tells us about Jimmy, this kid in his neighborhood that would get beat up for being brutally honest and being a wise ass. Despite the beatings, he took pride in his ability to be a wise ass and brutally honest. However, some of the kids who hated him, led by a kid named Brett, plot together and corner Jimmy in the science lab at school, where they proceed to pour formic acid on his face, which eats away at his flesh to the bone and scarring him irreversibly. While taken to the hospital, the bullies lie to the principal about what happened, enraging a silent and pained Jimmy. After being released from the hospital, face destroyed along with his social life, and only really responding with liars, he plots some murderous revenge. He waits till the group is separated to enact his plan, and then on the next weekend, Brett gets a package in the mail. It's a video directed directly to him. In it is a horrific scene of interrogation or really just torture, I guess, not less interrogation, with one of his friends sliced up, burned, and crying, and since he has been made to do worse things to the other group of people that were in the original plot. And he also has liars etched in his back. The next scene of the video is the boy with the camera in the woods and snow, yelling about being allowed to go. When he turns around, a horrifying Jimmy is there running at him. The text in the corner of the video is like that VHS text, liars. So Brett, after watching this, runs to lock the doors of his house, but it's too late. Last thing he sees and hears is Jimmy saying liars as acid is poured on his face. And Jimmy just trying to manage a creepy smile through his scars. So that is the story. It's a pretty quick one. I think creepypasta.com only cites it for being like 4.5 minute read. Mm-hmm. So the story...
4 minutes.
Okay, yeah, 4 minutes. The story, from my perspective anyway, seems to be created based entirely for the photo that accompanies the story at the very end.
And we all know how well that always goes.
Yeah. I mean, it is a cool, creepy, image, if that is a creepy image. Because, they show, a scarred, horribly, down to the bone, face, running after somebody in the snow. Although... the show, it does depict it a little bit more less wooded and just more like somebody's backyard than in the story. But
well, that
yeah,
image could be someone's going up.
Exactly. Yeah.
See a house.
Yeah. Yeah. Much. A lot. This is also from me reading through it and also agreeing with some of the commenters on this one. This one does feel like it took a lot of the plot beats from Jeff the Killer, though I think it does a lot better job of portraying that narrative of a kid getting bullied being essentially irreversibly mutilated with acid and then getting revenge. That said, I also don't like the narration at the beginning of the story. Okay, so here's a quote, there was once a guy living in our neighborhood named Jimmy. So, who are you? how do you know the things you know in the story that's taking place, even though you were just if it would have been a better story if it had just been an omnipresent narrator and not like a happened to a friend of mine kind of plot thing, which
Yes,
kind of
because then he somehow knows what's on the tape.
exactly, yeah.
When there should only be, well, by the end of the story, there should only be one person left alive who knows what was on that tape.
Yeah, and usually in the creepypasta that does that, where it turns out the killer was the writer, they usually like to shove that in your face at the very end, and they don't in this one. So that's not the point. That's not really the case.
Yeah,
that is approached. So it's just like, oh yeah, it happened to a friend of mine. Well, you don't know you wouldn't know half the stuff that happens in the story. So
yeah, they try to make it sound like it's real at the start by having that.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, I knew this guy.
And then they just give up halfway.
Well, yeah, it's like they forget about it.
Yep.
And just, yep, I know everything that happened because I'm omnipotent.
Yep.
If you really are, you're wasting your talent.
Exactly. So another thing I have with this one is during the video watching a segment, the tense of the story changes and never really goes back. I found that really annoying. Like, even for me, I was just like, it was in past tense for most of the beginning, from the beginning to the story, and then at some point it just starts going present tense, and I was like, what? And then this is where we live. This is where we live now. All right. Caught this in the comments as well. So formic acid doesn't quite eat flesh that quickly. It's shitty. I looked up fucking formic acid wounds, but it doesn't. I didn't really see a lot that were right down to the bone. It was more just horrible scarring scar tissue.
And that's what his face is.
Yeah, but
it's not down to the bone.
Okay, I remember reading in it. Okay, I remember reading in it that it was down to the bone on part of it. So
that's down to the bone. Then you're fucked.
Yeah. All right, fine.
Just it might have stated that in the story, but yeah, that's just
well, yeah. But yeah, so the wounds, I don't know. It just seems like they offered the commenter offered some other acids that would have been more effective, but
well, and also it depends on, as with any acid, depends on strength.
Yeah,
yeah,
because that's the issue.
Yeah,
not the type.
The
strength of it. Yeah,
because I can do the same thing with chlorine.
That's true. Yeah. All right,
and that's a base, but it still eats flesh.
Yeah. All right.
And the key is that it's in a high school. A high school's not going to have the high, really acidic stuff.
Yeah.
They'll have some, but it'll still be behind lock and key.
Yeah, and that stuff will be pretty high, and then it gets diluted for labs and
yeah.
So it's the question of how the heck are they getting the super high content stuff that's stored in the lab when there's the kids and there's no adult present.
They managed to get this guy in the lab with no other teacher in that lab to lock the door. Yeah, there's some plot holes in the story.
Yep.
As there are always kinds of stories.
Yeah. That's really all I have to say about it because, it reminded me of Jeff the Killer, but it was shorter. That's really where I kind of stand from that one. So, Mikey?
Well, this one fell apart for me in the first sentence because it's a run-on sentence.
Yep.
I was like, maybe this will be good. No, we got a run-on sentence in the first freaking sentence.
Yeah, it's half paragraph.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, do you want me to read it out loud?
By all means.
There was once a guy living in our neighborhood named Jimmy. He got picked on a lot for being a confident and funny guy. His mouth tended to get him into a lot of trouble, and he seldom learned his lesson.
And there were just commas in
That's just commas.
Jesus Christ.
So that was my big issue there. The first run-on sentence, it just went downhill from there. So
yeah.
And then the fact that they grabbed the formic acid stored in the lab.
Yeah.
How?
Did you get the keys off the teacher when he wasn't looking?
Yeah.
And also, usually the teacher will make sure everybody's out of that lab and then lock the door. I know vigilance isn't necessarily the case, always the case, but
But
it's usually their responsibility to make sure
the standard procedure is that it is the case, and if it's not the case, then it needs to be told in story.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah, because they just happen. Like it's not like fucking art class or like drama class where they just leave that door open. Like no, they have that door closed because you don't want any kids.
Well, it would be
doing exactly what these kids do.
Highly concentrated stuff would be not in the class or be a separate.
Yeah, in the back.
Yeah, some kind of storage compartment. Yeah, exactly. And that would be locked. So
yes,
even if the main classroom wasn't, that door would be locked. Yeah.
And then like I have the comment of facial reconstruction surgery. Like if he's badly burned or maimed by acid.
Yeah.
They're not gonna just let him go with a horribly scarred face.
Yeah.
Especially a high school student.
Oh, yeah.
And the annoyance I had is how sort of quickly he came back out of hospital.
Yeah, because you do not recover that. Like, well, again, we don't get
that.
But,
it just says he spent a couple days in ICU, and then when he was released.
Yeah, so I mean,
sometime later.
Yeah. So I mean, that's some ambiguity. I mean, it's a fine line. Like you can either be really too ambiguous, or you can be too specific in these creepypastas with time.
Yeah, and that's too ambiguous.
Yeah,
it should have been several weeks or several months, whatever a reasonable amount of time is. And I mean, like
a Google search would
Google people.
Yeah, a Google search would have helped you. Like exactly, like yeah.
And then like a paragraph after that, it says that week, and then stuff happens. It's like, well, I don't know when that week is happening.
Yeah, I assume sometime in the winter months, based off the photo, but that's about it. And that's not what you're supposed to do in a story.
Yeah. And then the obvious question is Jimmy illiterate? He's not able to speak after the acid, but he could probably still write what happened.
I think the thing is that he doesn't want to.
Yeah.
He wants to handle this self. That's the impression I got.
Yeah. I got a similar one where it's just like he's just so angry at the situation that, he's going to take care of this stuff. Like, do Punisher style.
I don't know.
Although, it was just like, what's the matter, Jimmy? Liars! Liars! Just because that's apparently all he'd say.
Yeah.
In response to things. But yeah, like, I get what you're saying, but like at the same time, I'm kind of with Leviathan there, where it's just like he's so much filled with rage, like an anger, for what happened, that he wants to deal with this himself. Like he wants to get his own revenge.
Yeah, and that's kind of been his plan, like basically since he regained consciousness.
Yeah,
because I would assume he stayed somewhere.
Yeah, though apparently not enough. The paramedics were helping him to hear the lies coming off from the students to the principal.
Well, and I mean, he eventually gotten that anyway.
That's true, so because the principal was going to come up. Yeah, that's true. Okay.
Because I mean, that's my thought. That's me filling in holes that the writer.
Yeah.
Which is the thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that was my issues with it.
Well, I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna open a nitpick. It's the changing of tense. This is when we've got the video and they're still in the basement.
Yeah.
Up until this point, it's been past tense, and then the bodies of his friends, all of them have markings on their body, deep, large cuts. Should have been had.
Yeah.
And it was just took me right out.
I
was going along with the whole story up until that point. I mean, I wasn't necessarily enjoying myself, but I was going along, and then that just sucked me right out of the story. Other than that, I don't really have a whole lot to add, other than this is just, it's not gore porn, but it's revenge porn.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I just don't care. I don't care for anything that's just gratuitous, almost. And I mean, the fact that it basically exists because of an image, that always just bothers me. Because
I mean, like, it's nice to get an image, like, to have that as a, like, inspiration for a story.
Yes, but when we have, in the past, when we've had them on the show, they don't take the time to fill in all of the holes. They just do whatever the flying fuck they want, and try and rush through it as quickly as possible to get to that image.
Yeah. Exactly, yeah.
Because, I mean, like, and I'm pretty sure I've stated this before, that, like, I get inspired and, create by an image, by a painting, by a picture, by a fucking scene from a commercial or TV, whatever. And I can run with it, and I, create this fun little story in my head, because I don't write creepypasta. But I flush it out.
Yeah.
Or flesh it, not flush. These should be flushed out. But these ones are half-written all the time.
Because they're so focused on trying to get to the quintessential image in the story.
Exactly.
I wonder what the tense changes is, where it's like, oh, I gotta get this finished.
Yeah.
Happened.
Well, actually, the tense is pretty consistent throughout, except for that one point where, I mean, there might have been a couple of other screw-ups, but...
I thought it kept happening, as I remember reading it last night, it kept happening, like, near the end, like, after that point, but maybe it was just because it jarred me, so it was like, because it pulled me right out, too. I was like, like, I was like, oh, alright, I'll add that to my notes. Don't like that.
Yeah, you're right. Brett feels faint and darts to lock the front door. Yeah, it just...
All throughout the brain. It just, like, he suddenly just had to... It went from past tense to present tense. It was like...
All over the place, yeah. And, I mean, oddly enough, where this pasta sped through is probably where it should have slowed down and taken time.
Yeah. With
the events in the video, which would have edged it closer to gore porn, but at the same time... That's what it...
I mean, that's really what the story's about, is a revenge story. And,
exactly.
Like, you're kind
and
of
it just kind of skips through the revenge.
Yeah, exactly. Like we get to, like, how we got to that
They're
point.
all dead.
Yeah, they're already dead, yeah.
At the start of the video, except for one of them.
Who apparently was made to do it, but...
And, okay, this one doesn't make any sense. So... You've got the portion of the video in the basement, and then afterwards, the camera cuts out, and then it turns back, like it comes back, and it's the victim holding the camera.
Yeah.
Why the fuck is the victim holding... Why did he turn it on? Why did he hit record?
Exactly, yeah.
Like, there are a number of questions there that just...
How did he escape? Like, did he... Like, well, I mean, obviously he was let out, and so... But why did he just give him the camera, assuming he'd turn it back on, and, like, know that he'd be hunting him?
Exactly. Like, I'm sorry, I've just been, captured, confined, tortured, made to murder my friends.
Yeah.
And I'm left naked in the winter, outside, with a camera.
Yeah. And I mean, we all know
I'm
why.
I'm going to leave.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not going to look at the camera. I'm not going to touch the camera. I'm certainly not going to pick it on, hit record, fucking yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just going to fucking book it.
Yeah.
With all of the strength remaining in my body.
Yeah. It's the unfortunate common issue with found footage films as well. Why the hell did they turn on... Why are they still recording after the weird shit's happening when they should obviously just be trying to escape? Mm-hmm. And not try and, like, set that down and, like, then, like set it down while it's recording and then try and open, like, try and figure out the door and stuff like that. Or, like, yeah, like... And I know why in the story, and we all know why in this story because of the fucking photo.
Yeah, but with virtually no thought,
exactly,
I can still get around it and have that image. He could have left it set up on a tripod, on a goddamn tree stump, and, like, at the end of the video, he picks it up and turns it off.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
That would have given you the image.
Or, like, he kills the guy, like, right, like, beside, like, off, like, below the screen, and then gets up, and then you see the face, and stuff like that, and then that's the end of the video.
Yeah, it's just...
But yeah, as it is now, it's just like, yeah, like, you're just trying to, like, you've come up with this convoluted reason for why the victim has the camera to get that shot, the money shot.
But you haven't explained why.
Exactly.
Because it's a poor excuse for reason. It's bad. Mm-hmm. And I mean, honestly, you write a fucking story so that you can attach an image to it. And honestly, that's really the big problem, is that they want to have the image attached to the creepypasta. They don't want to take inspiration from it and let it go in a different direction, if that's the case.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They want to have the image shown with. And
they force or shoehorn in the idea of the image, or the depiction of in the image, just so they can have that. They don't let it, like, evolve, like, as you write. Like, you take inspiration from an image and then you evolve it. And you know what? If you that image, like, goes away, like, you don't
if it no longer fits the story, you let it go, because otherwise you're roadblocking your story. Like, no, you can't go in this direction. You have to go in this direction.
Yeah,
and that's just, it's bad.
Yeah,
I mean, like, a story is its own thing. It grows and evolves largely on its own. I mean,
It is the failings of caption stories.
Stories are almost back burner things where they evolve not in your subconscious, but like in that part of your brain where you're not actively thinking about it. And, then when an idea kind of bubbles to the top of the pot, just to keep that imagery going, that's when it, like, gets moved back to the forefront, and you're like, oh shit, that's awesome, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not all from... There's a lot of back burner shit going on with story writing. And, like I said, when you stop that from happening...
forcibly, remove that. Just no, it has to be like the image.
Yeah.
Or we have to, move the path in the direction of that image at the very end, so we get the money shot. And then the money shot ends up being cheapened.
Exactly.
By it. So,
like
this story, again, the only reason we have this, the only reason the story progressed the way it did was because they wanted to get that money shot.
Exactly, and...
I would think Brett's struggle in the house could have been a little bit longer, could have been a little bit more expanded, because he's the fucking villain of the story.
Yes, that actually is the part that really should have been. You actually, yep, you're right, and I was wrong. The video shouldn't have been lengthened, although it could have.
It could have been, yeah, I do agree with that.
But then we would have run the risk of gore porn. But Brett's ending should have been lengthened.
Yeah, because the way he one fucking
just all of a sudden,
fucking MILF joke, and this is what he does to this dude. Yeah, this dude deserves to get fucking punished.
Actually, yes, that's another thing. Again, just a gross overreaction on the case of the villain. Oh, he's a little psychopathic. What? A little psychopathic?
He fucking poured acid on a guy's face.
Yeah.
And, disfigured him pretty well, irreversibly.
Yeah, for
a fucking MILF joke.
Over a MILF joke.
Or your mom joke, probably, is what we kind of all assume from that. But, fuck. And then, so I did find out that she, near the beginning when, again, our protagonist is, in the hospital just saying liars all the time. It's you kind of just jumped the shark a little bit with there should have been some I think there should have been some moment where you tried to tell your side of the story and just nobody believed you. Maybe you kind of jumped into no, nobody's gonna believe me, I'm just gonna go get my revenge. And I was it's a little quick to jump from that.
Well, it's kind of like the whole they pour acid on his face because of a stupid joke.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's all just
it escalates too quickly.
There we go. That's the exact word I was looking for. Just no sense of pacing.
Yeah.
And I mean, okay, so Jimmy, he gets glad at least the main character has a fucking name.
Yeah.
The narrator might not, but then again, the narrator fucking disappears pretty quick.
Yeah. Can I just say that I like how everybody, all the kids in the story, except for our narrator, has a name, except for the boy who's being tortured to kill all his friends.
Well, there's only two names story.
No. His is oh god, I killed them all, and he names off all the friends. Yeah, but we I looked through it. It's we never get. He's just called the boy, or the friend of Brett. We never get a name for the unnamed kid.
Whatever.
But I thought that was funny. Wait, why? Because I was one of my notes. I was oh, what's this guy's name? And then I went through the story. It's wow, everybody else has a name except for the narrator and this boy. Okay.
But, Jimmy, so while he's in, he gets horribly scarred by acid and then, just goes completely non-communicative.
Yeah, just shuts down from the rest of the world. And
no one's going to have him talk to a shrink? I mean, that was... This
traumatic situation.
This is a traumatic ordeal that he went through, and he's clearly suffering from it on a psychological level, and he's not...
this is a high schooler. Somebody's got to...
No one's trying to help him?
Exactly, yeah.
And it's a drastic change from being the most talked person in the class to being the most quiet.
Whereas if he had of, tried... If Jimmy had have tried to maintain, a semblance of, yes, my life is drastically changed, but I'm dealing with it well, and all the while, plotting and planning and, you
Yeah.
know, as opposed to, like, no, he gets out of the hospital and fucking lives in his room. Like,
Yeah, and just toils away with his revenge plan.
someone's gonna notice this shit.
Yeah.
His parents are gonna fucking pay attention to his comings and goings at that point. Like,
Yeah, especially, like, if not only because, like, their son just had a horrible traumatic situation that his, like, life-altering, like, situation just happened to him, like, they're gonna want to care for him.
and also the story is, like, the story that the bullies come up with is basically that he, like,
They don't even
did
give
it to himself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they don't really give it. It's like, I don't know, man. We saw him go into there, and that's all we know. Like, and then they like apparently added some extra details that we never like don't really get described. They're
Which
just like
gives me,
like
which takes me back to the point of why isn't this this Jimmy getting, you know, psychological treatment help?
yeah,
Because, you know, like with the story that they throw out there, as it is,
it's self-inflicted.
that we
Yeah.
exactly. So now we're talking like not only horrible, life-changing thing, but like just a fucking prolific amount of self-harm.
Exactly. Like at the like even if
Like,
it,
we're not talking about cutting himself.
no yeah
We're talking about, like, fucking...
like really bad mutilation.
Yeah.
like worse than cutting like mutilation. Like again, like acid splashing on your face, kind of.
Yeah.
Like and like even if like yeah, but first off, like even like the true statement, like the lie that the kids tell, and like his actual situation, both reasons are reason to give him this kid some help. Because like on the one side, he's suddenly repressed and like become isolated himself, so he needs to be talked to. If everybody's believing these fucking asshole kids, of like, oh, he's self-inflicted himself and like this, then they still need to talk to Jimmy and like
Yeah.
talk him about this stuff.
And if they don't believe the story, where's the criminal investigation?
Exactly.
Like, because, again, somewhat of a psychopath. Yeah, here's your proof.
Yeah, exactly.
This is what happened. You know what you do with psychopaths? You remove them from society.
Yeah, especially high schools. They go to some kind of other
They go
institution.
to an institution.
That's what I was going to say. The institute. They go to
They
another
get
institution.
locked the fuck up.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just. There's a lot more to the story that we would like to talk about than it was.
Well, there's a lot. There's so much missing
Exactly,
from this
yeah.
story,
Yeah.
and I think that's where the bulk of the conversation is coming from. Is that
We're asking the questions.
it's
that
not
we're
what
answering.
is in the story; it's what isn't in the story.
Yeah.
That fucking needs to be in there because of what is in the story.
Yeah. Well, the writer sure wasn't going to give us that. So
Yeah.
at least again, like this. I remember. I recall seeing that photo a couple of times, like in the last couple of years, but I never knew what it was, like that it was tied to like a story or anything like that. And this might be a fairly new one. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's just like if you're gonna like take inspiration from an image, that's cool, but develop it, evolve it. And then don't just like slap something together to match the story or the image if it's going to be forced like this.
Yeah,
like there's so many missing
herd
things.
the story to a specific point.
Yeah.
Let it do whatever it's going to do. And if you still get to use the image, cool.
Exactly,
If
yeah.
not, well, then you've probably created a better story.
Yeah, and just remove that image or like maybe mention somewhere else that I took inspiration from this image for the story. Like that's just as cool. Like it's a little bit meta, but yeah, it's cool. Like put it out on your blog or something like that.
Put it in the comments.
Exactly. Yeah, that
You
that
know,
too.
because if it's that good of an image that it inspired your story, then
Yeah.
you should still, spread the image around, because who else could it inspire?
Exactly, yeah.
What else could come from other people seeing that?
Yeah.
But yeah, this, and honestly, I would have gone with something different. It would have
Yeah.
been-
Same.
It would not have been anywhere near the same story.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's all I really have about this.
Yeah, just a lot of stuff that, like, I mean, again, like the questions we've just been asking and like the conversation we just had would help build this story up. If the author is listening, like,
Rewrite.
My suggestion would be like to take our information, our like suggestions to heart and build a better story from that, because like there's just a lot missing in the story that we have as is. That would be a lot better if it had those like plot points added onto it, or those things like fixed up.
Well, and
Or again, like just
I gotta be this guy, but edit
Yep.
An edit that is deeper than fucking
Grammar.
spell check.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, the words are spelt right, but you're bouncing around between tenses is, something that someone else would have caught. Your plot holes are something that someone else could have caught.
Like we all caught it within the first read. All three of us caught the tense. Like, in fact, I don't know about Mikey. Did you actually did it pull you out of the story at all, or when that happened? Because
I was pulled out by the first sentence. So
all right, fair enough. But I was reading up to that point, and then it was like, oh, ugh. Why is that no? And then all right, keep going. All right.
But it's.
And again, this could have been a really cool, that ending, we could have had a really cool ending with, this guy, dealing with Brett, but it's just, the last thing he heard and saw. And it's okay,
yeah,
you're going with that.
The word liars, and he's
even though we've heard that,
wax face.
I think liars would have been a good thing if we hadn't heard it at least a dozen times in the story.
And seen it.
Yep.
And just, yeah.
We saw it, that's all he'd ever say, and so, it loses its impact when you do that, and the last thing he heard was, liars. There's a reason, people do that, but, they don't, keep putting that in your head until, the very end, and then they do that.
Yeah.
But...
Now, they mention it once, and then...
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm honestly disappointed, because based on the title, I expected it one's pants catch fire.
Yep.
Yeah. Damn it. So yeah, if we decide to do some editing on the if the guy decides to do some editing, or girl, on the video scene, have their pants on fire. Maybe that's where the burns are. Oh god, that's horrible. But anyway, so yeah, I think that's about it. So we've talked a fair amount on what's not in the story. So I guess we're going down to recommendations. Yeah. I'm not going to recommend this one as is. I like again. It feels like there's a lot of potential in the story, and it just, even though it feels like a more competent version of the Jeff the Killer narrative, but it's not enough. We just had a huge conversation about what's missing in the story to make it good. So yeah, take what my advice would be to take what we've presented for a review or for editing, and fix up the story, and then maybe we could recommend it. But as it is, no, I can't recommend this one. Cool image though, but
and I can't recommend it either. Just
yeah, and I have even disagreed, because first off, anything that resembles Jeff the Killer, I can't recommend. And it's not just because I hate Jeff the Killer. The thing is, it does resemble Jeff the Killer. Yeah. We have a normal person who suddenly becomes
a
homicidal, revenge-seeking maniac.
Yeah.
Whereas there are so many other better revenge stories out there where it's just something horrible happening who doesn't make every single person a sadistic, horrible murderer who, takes captives and tortures them.
Yeah.
There
are burn victims that have become, celebrities and, become, philanthropists.
Well, no,
and,
but
good
what
people.
I'm saying for a revenge story
yeah.
Honestly, where's the revenge story where something horrible happens to someone and they just, fucking just straight up murder without the torture and all of the... Because all of that stuff it hints at something deeper, and darker than just revenge. It hints at something just Brent's the psychopath? Or was it Brett?
Yeah, Brett.
When Jimmy is the one who kidnaps and tortures,
6 people? 6 people? Yeah. On video, but also makes one of them do it.
And then sends that video to one of, to the
last
ringleader.
person, yeah.
That's
that's a psycho,
that's just fucking nuts.
Yeah.
Whereas, if he'd have just, fucking, gone all vigilante on them and just fucking, strangled them with a length of cord, okay, it's revenge. I can see it.
Yeah, it's more simple. It's
a
simple
brutality. You guys
no.
lied, so,
Yeah, it's you lied, so I'm going to take your life.
Whereas doing the rest is just fucking... It's sick. Like, your typical person isn't going to do that.
Yeah, this
And
isn't Saw.
Exactly, and that's the problem I have with, Liars, and, well, it's one of the problems I have, but it's the main problem with the narrative, is that you've got a happy-go-lucky individual, and I mean, at least Jeff the Killer
had an inkling, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, Jeff was fucking Nutter Butters before the incident that created him, but this guy was, happy, jovial,
He liked honesty. Honesty is the best policy kind of thing.
People beat him up, and he was cool with it.
Yeah, because he'd rather be honest than...
But then this one event happens, and yes, this one event is very different than all of the previous events.
Yeah.
But he becomes a second person.
Yeah.
And, yeah, that's just... Yeah.
I also kind of just realized that, at the beginning, he's like, oh man, honestly, it's like, you know what, at least I'm being honest and stuff like that. And then, when, it really, he starts, he snaps, kind of, once he hears that, the other guys lied. So, so I could see the inkling of, what the story was, maybe trying to do was, he maybe had a problem or something like that, but, or he had to be honest all the time and he hates liars. But it's kind of weak sauce compared to, what we get... Oh, God, I can't believe I'm saying this. It's kind of weak sauce compared to Jeff the Killer's origin for, at least being psychotic at the beginning, or having inklings of that, seeing the cracks in the scenes.
Because as much as I hate to admit it, Jeff the Killer is the better of the two.
Damn it! No.
However, I enjoyed reading this one a hell of a lot more.
Yeah, I think that's where I could take that from that. But yeah, oh god.
Jeff the Killer has the better narrative, this is the better story.
What's that say about society?
Both of them get their fucking science wrong, so...
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. So
yeah, I can't recommend it. I can't recommend it even with a rewrite, because the rewrite that would make me happy would not resemble the story that I've already read.
Fair enough. Mm-hmm. All right, well, those are our recommendations.
However, I recommend the rewrite happening. Yeah,
it's still happening. It's just, it won't be for you.
Well, right. And if it does, and it completely changes the story, then that's a good thing.
All the better, yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. So yeah, that's what this week's episode. So if you like what you heard, if you didn't, leave us a comment in the comment section below where this gets posted, whether it be on Kiwi6, Facebook, YouTube, Tumblr. We're all on Twitter at E stands for Evil, Dr. Leviathan, and Review Cultist. You can send us a review or rank us on iTunes. Every little bit helps. And you can check out the title cards for each episode on crazonstudios.tumblr.com. And you can send us an email at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's ALDENTERIGAMORTIS@gmail.com, where you can also send us suggestions for other creepypastas you'd like to discuss on the show. This one in particular was actually sent to us on Twitter from a listener. So, yay, thanks. Despite the fact that we ripped into this one and stuff like that, we do enjoy doing the show. I enjoy reading them for the most part. I can't say about my co-hosts, but at the very least, we do enjoy discussing them, sitting around here and talking about how a story could be better. At least that's my statement, and I'm sticking to it. So anyway, also, if you would like to support us, you can go down to Patreon at Al Dente Rigamortis and sign up for whichever tier you'd like to support us at. Usually some behind-the-scenes stuff, some extra episodes for patrons only, or early access for episodes. So, until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
I'm still Dr. Leviathan.
And I'm Mikey. E stands for Evil.
And this has been Al Dente Rigamortis. Sleep well.
I could go for a tiny burger.